Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So it's a pumpkin time yet again. If you follow the channel guys, you would have seen the video I've done a week or so ago when we're talking about stocking up our pantry with the vegetables that are currently in season. And of course October, and it's a pumpkin month. So in the previous video I showed you how we dehydrate pumpkin and how to make a pumpkin puree. In this episode guys, we're going to be concentrating on stocking up our freezer pantry, and I'm going to show you how to make a pumpkin gnocchi and a lovely pumpkin soup. As I said guys, those videos are designed to make sure that we're able to eat healthily and at the same time to make sure we can provide a cheap, healthy, nutritional meals and to beat the cost of living crisis and the inflation. So guys, without further ado, let's proceed. So the first step guys, we have to roast our pumpkin. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put the video out there. But the first thing you got to do, make sure you do scrub your pumpkins properly. And I mean like really give it a really good scrub. Then guys, just cut this in half, take all the seeds out and wash this in the oven for approximately an hour at 180 degrees. Voila! So this is the pumpkin I have prepared earlier. I roasted it on one side and then I decided to turn it over, give it a little spray of olive oil and just roast it up on the inside just a little bit as well for that extra nutty flavor. So next thing we're going to do, okay, is we're going to make a puree from the pumpkin. Let it cool down a little bit, okay? That's why I've done this in advance, because otherwise I'll be waiting for a while. And when your pumpkin is cooked, it will just scoop out nicely, okay? And you leave the skin behind. It just comes out lovely. Right, I've got my food processor here. I've got the top part of food processor here. So scoop the pumpkin in. It's still hot. Okay, first of the half is done, and you can see the skin is left behind. So let's get the first batch processed. There it goes. Okay, first half is done. One thing to point, we do not want to add any water to that, okay? Because I'm making two recipes from that same pumpkin, I need that puree to be as dry as possible. So, nice, perfect yellow, really golden color actually. So, let's get that out here. Okay. So I'm going to put this aside just to chill down just a little bit more, because we do need this just a little bit colder when we make our gnocchi. So whilst it's chilling, we'll get another half done. Okay, second half is done, so let me clear this. Voila guys, we're now ready to make our gnocchi. Gnocchi is basically Italian dumplings, but generally they're made with the potatoes. But in this instance, we're pushing the boat out and making it with pumpkin. Just a word of advice, if you are short on the freezer space, I do suggest you just freeze the pumpkin puree. Because thereafter guys, if you're aware how to make your recipe, whether it's been a soup or gnocchi or anything else that requires a pumpkin puree, it is there ready to go. This way you don't occupy your space in the freezer with unnecessary liquid. So if you were to make soup, for example, obviously I'm going to be making this with the stock and freezing that. But if you are short on space, then wait until you defrost this and obviously cook this on the day, because otherwise it will take you far more of the freezer space. Unless, of course, you're preparing this for a time when you don't have enough time in the evening to cook your dinner, then that's okay. But I also do freeze pumpkin puree by itself, just takes less space, so I can then alter the recipes as I go. But for this video, we're making gnocchi, which we're going to be freezing. So anyway, approximately here we have 2 cups of pumpkin puree. All depends on how liquid or how big your pumpkin is, okay? So sometimes the pumpkin is a little bit more watery, so you have to alter your flour amount to make sure that you get a perfect consistency. So first of all, I'm going to season that with a little bit of salt. Okay, just a little bit, because pumpkins generally have quite a plain flavor, so I'm adding on a teeny bit of salt. If you really want to push the boat out, you can use Parmesan, but we're talking about budget-friendly recipes, and unfortunately Parmesan is quite expensive. It's the same goes unfortunately with the ricotta. Ricotta makes a really nice tender gnocchi, but again, it kind of adds on to the value, and with the ricotta it doesn't really freeze that well. So we're going to be omitting and make it a bog standard. Okay, so here we are. Right, pumpkin's done. So we're going to break up an egg, one egg. Give it a mix. And now we're going to be slowly adding on the flour. Do this a little bit at a time because you can add on more, but you can't take it away. So I'm going to start with approximately half a cup. We're trying to make a workable dough. This is what it is. Okay. A little bit more. Generally on the good dry pumpkin, we're looking to 1-to-1 consistency. So if you're having a 1 cup of pumpkin, there'll be 1 cup of flour. If it's 2 pumpkins, 2 cups of pumpkins, there'll be 2 cups of flour. But as I said, it will vary slightly. So guys, we can see now it started to come together. So now it's time to get this out of there, and we can gently knead this by hand. So if I just sprinkle a little bit more flour here, and we get this out. Okay, and let's start to get it mixing. So here we are, look, it is pretty much looks like a very soft dough, like bread dough. It's very important not to overwork it, okay, because they will be really, really hard. The fact is that we're omitting ricotta as well. It's gonna, make a little bit of difference. So nonetheless now, okay, so whilst you're doing this, get yourself a tray, because as I said, guys, I am freezing them. So the whole idea is we are stocking up our freezer. So next thing, right, let's actually shape them. Just cut the dough into like 4 pieces. I'm not going to even attempt to make a traditional because there is a specific gadget that you can buy in Italy to make you shape perfect gnocchi. I'm just going to be doing this a very basic bog standard way, and Italian folks, if you're watching, please don't hate me. It's all done for a convenience, guys, okay? I'm not pretending to be, a master chef or whatever, but the idea is if things are made simple, like I always tell you, we're more likely to try it and do it. If things are complicated, then chances are we're not going to give it a go. So make it easy. Right, 4 pieces, okay? I'll put them aside. Right, so now the idea is the gnocchi are like a tiny little dumplings, okay? They're normally not say round, they're oblong shape, but let's stretch out our piece of dough into little sausages, however way you want to do it. If you don't have space, you can cut that in half, just make your life a bit easier as well. I've seen some people doing this, Italian people, dare I say it, sort of stretching it like that. Keep your flour handy to make sure it's not going to stop sticking. Okay. Right, well, we have really imperfect sausage, but it really doesn't matter. Okay, as I said, get yourself a tray, because at first you've got to freeze them on the tray before putting them in the bag. Put the other parchment paper or put some flour. Okay. Right, all the idea is now you do, and hopefully, guys, you get to see that if I put that here. Okay, we're just going to chop a little gnocchi, okay, on the little shapes. So we have something like little pillows, okay? So do that. Do try to make sure they are all the same size, give or take, okay? So they cook the same. So I know there's some things there you can sort of twist your fork and you can roll your little gnocchi into the shape, okay? Like, so take a fork and then just roll it, and it creates a couple of little ridges up there. So if you have the time, as I said, you can continue doing that. It kind of like makes them look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, but if you're short on time, then I won't bother. I'll finish just that little batch because I've started it. I'm sure some nonnas are turning in heaven right now watching me do that. I'm terribly sorry, but nonetheless, right. So here we go. Done. Wash them in here. Okay, so the first batch is done. In there goes into the freezer until they're frozen. When they're totally frozen, you can then repackage them in an airtight container. If you don't have the space, like I don't, to be able to line out all of the a few trays in your freezer, put the cling film wrap on that dough, put this in the fridge, and it'll be okay to sit there for like a day, if not longer. So that's not a problem. We're doing this in batches. As in terms of cooking, guys, right? This is really straightforward. As I said, in today's video, we're not cooking. We're just stocking up, and I'm giving you ideas what you can do, okay? So gnocchi, you can cook them two ways. You can either boil them, and you boil them until they float to the top. Once they're floated, give them another approximately 30 seconds, and they're ready. Thereafter, you can pretty much serve them with any sauce that you like, okay? Alternatively, you can actually fry them. You can fry them in butter, and ideally sage and the pumpkin gnocchi go really well. So you can put a little bit of butter, a little bit of sage, and then fry them nicely. I like my gnocchi with Italian sausage, okay? It sounds a little bit odd to some potentially, but I cooked that couple of weeks back. So we boil the gnocchi, and then I put them in a frying pan with a little bit of butter. I'm adding on a little bit of a sausage. You can do like a sausage meat, whatever sausage, you know, whatever meat that you kind of like in terms of like sausage meat, or you can cut up certain Italian sausages, and then just add a teeny weeny bit of the tomato puree, and it comes up to be absolutely lovely. Don't forget to sprinkle some parmesan on the top if you do. If not, not a big deal. But nonetheless, the choices are, the possibilities are endless. You can add on things like a spinach and a cream sauce that works really well with gnocchi as well. Generally, like tomato sauces or sort of ragu that you like to make, it all goes well together. So this is the point, the pumpkin, okay? Think about it. We just done half a pumpkin, right? And we created ourselves a good couple of meals out of that with the flour. As I said, if you don't have the space to do that, freeze your pumpkin puree, and you'll come back to this when you have time to do it. Nonetheless, with a half a pumpkin for 68p, we made ourselves a good couple meals, give or take another ingredient. So let me clear this off, guys, and we'll proceed to the soup. So soup time. Okay, there is loads and loads of possibilities of making a pumpkin soup. You can have it a curried pumpkin soup, you can have it spicy pumpkin soup, you can have a pumpkin soup with the coconut cream, but one has to watch a cholesterol over a certain age, so I'm going to make it really healthy and very straightforward. But it is your kitchen, this is your recipe, and you do what you want to do. So for my recipe, okay, I'll require 1 onion and 1 garlic. So first things first, I've got a saucepan here. So I'm going to spray a little bit of oil in there, and we're going to saute an onion. So because the soup is already pureed, not the soup but the pumpkin, all right, we need to cut the onion as small as possible because I don't want it pureed. I want to have a small little pieces of onion floating about in my soup, okay? Onions peeled, let's put that on. Okay. Right, so now chop it as fine as you like. You know, to be fair, if you do like a big pieces of onion, then you can chop it how you want it. Okay, so onion's done. Just brush it in there. It's not the best smell of cooked onion. Right. I need to get a spatula. In fact, not a spatula, but about 22-year-old wooden fork that has been, like, you know, caved and all sorts. It's been through the wars. Nonetheless, right, a little bit more oil. Ooh. Okay, so at the same time now, just turn it down a bit, we're smoking. Right, here I have a tablespoon of nutmeg. Goes in there. Turn the heat right down because you'll burn it. We're going to have a tablespoon of home dehydrated ginger powder, far stronger than the stuff you buy in the shop. Very strong. And I need a spoon. Ooh. There's one hiding there. Sorry, I was prepared. Right, let's get that in there. Don't forget you can add on to taste afterwards. Oh yeah, that ginger. Oh, that's good. Just because the spices are there. Okay, I've got here 1 cup of a vegetable stock. You can use the chicken stock. I'm gonna just pour just a teeny weeny bit, okay? Just to help the onion cook down a bit. Okay, so let's cook until the point is a bit translucent. Okay, right, now let's add on garlic clove. I have one. You can add on as many as you like, but I think one is a good amount considering the spices we're using. Chop it or crush it, it's up to you. Okay, add it on. Garlic does burn quite fast, so do be careful. If you don't have fresh garlic, you can add on garlic granules, that also work, or dehydrated garlic. A little bit more stock. So you can see how easy things are. And, as I said before, the simplest of things do make the most tastiest and healthiest recipes. Okay, so onion's pretty much cooked. Right, let's now just turn it down for a second. I'm going to add on the stock. Add on half of the stock for a second. Just mix that up. And now we're going to add on our pumpkin puree. To be fair, okay, if you added on cream to the pumpkin, you really wouldn't have to worry about the stock. And at the same time, it depends on the consistency. When I make my soup purees, Mr. Daniel calls them mash because they are rather thick. But to be fair, I do like them this way. Whether he, on the opposite side, likes to slurp stuff. So here we go. Right, get all the pumpkins out. Okay, so what I'm going to do with the leftover stock, just wash that in there. Okay, you can put that back on. Right, just put it on for a minute so we can just collect all the puree that's left behind. Let's go mix. Good enough. To make sure you just get everything from the back, from the bottom. Right, pour it out. There we are. Okay, and mix it together. At some point as well, you can add on carrots if you want. You can even roast carrots and then blend them with the pumpkin as well. As I said, the possibilities are endless. All those root vegetables work really, really well together. Okay. Right, let's give that a try. It's good. It needs a bit more salt. Let's add on a little bit of salt. Again, the salt is optional, of course, but it's all down to personal preference. There we are, guys. Let's make sure it is warmed through if you're consuming this now. Otherwise, it is genuinely ready. So if I turn this off, unplugged, so you can hear me better this way. So that's that. How simple was that? It didn't really take that long, but easily here, okay, we have easily 3 portions. If you like your soup a bit more watery, add on more stock. That is not a problem. But I do suggest that you add it on at the point of when you get this out of the freezer. Because again, okay, if you just imagine if you wanted to make it double as thin by adding on stock, it's going to take a double the amount of space in the freezer. So I suggest you freeze this at as thick as possible and then just add on your stock later on. Nonetheless, just let it cool down and then just bag it up. You can use your vacuum sealer bag if you do use them, or just put them in a normal Ziploc bag. Make sure you lay them flat, lay them up just nicely, and make sure you close the bag properly. Freeze them up and then you can stack them up, and this is as easy as that. So if you now have a look at the 68p pumpkin, we created good 3 or 4 portions of soup, even more if you add on other vegetables, and we already created a good few portions of gnocchi. So you can see, guys, my point of saying to you that trying to maximize or stock up the freezers and the generally pantry with the cheap ingredients that are currently on offer is a really good idea. Because don't forget, with dehydrated pumpkin, we've got a few of the jars of dehydrated flakes and the little chunks as well. And we can do more. We can do as we go along. So make sure you stock up on your pumpkins if you prefer to do this at a later date. They'll sit in a cool, dark place for a very, very long time. And then just do this as you go. I've bought myself loads of pumpkins and I'm going to be doing this when I have time. Don't forget, like everybody else at work, I've got no time to devote to do this like constantly as a whole day. But if I find an extra hour or so there and then, I'll create a different option of soup. I'll create maybe a different option of gnocchi or something else, and then I'm just going to be freezing that. So when the time comes, if I need to use it, I have really healthy food already stocked up in my freezer. So there we are, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I do apologize, I'm not sort of dishing this up and sort of showing you all the elaborate things you can do with that, because as I said, the idea of this video encourage you to stock your pantry cheaply whilst we have the ability to do so. So anyway, guys, if you do like this video, please don't forget thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do. This channel is all about preparedness, all the things to come, food preparedness, and anything else to do with the emergency preparedness. And please, yes, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye.